Good morning, everyone. Namaste. This is Meena Puri from Ayurvedic Healing Center. Happy Sunday to all of you. So I wanted to talk about consciousness, why consciousness matters and why I continue to harp upon it. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through where consciousness makes a difference in our life, in our health, in our evolution, why without consciousness we continue to be stuck, or we will continue to be stuck in the status quo in our own minds, in our own head. So let's start with, what is consciousness? Consciousness is the very source of our living. Consciousness is the seed, the source energy of everything that we experience on this planet. Consciousness, it's inside of us, but actually a more accurate representation would be that we are in consciousness. So consciousness is energy because we can't see it. It is to be experienced. So we are in the field of consciousness. Consciousness is energy, has vibration. Vibration is either, we compare it to, lower vibration, higher vibration. So when I'm talking about raising the level of your consciousness, I am talking about moving into the higher vibration way of being. So consciousness is a field of existence out of which awareness arises. We tend to use the word awareness in a very kind of a loose way, it's become like the buzzword, but we may not really understand it. So awareness has a much deeper context than just, being aware of your surroundings. That's all fine and dandy. But how do we become aware of our surroundings? How do we become aware of what's going on inside of us? That's the work of elevating the level of your consciousness. We do not become more conscious just because we want to become more conscious. However, that is an important step, because that'll lead us to, well, how do I become more conscious? How do I know if I'm more conscious or if I'm not more conscious? How do I know if the increasing the level of consciousness is changing the quality of my life? After all, what is the point of consciousness? What is the point of these conversations? Is for you to experience a higher quality of your life, better improve health, more presence, more joy, more wakefulness. Joy is not what we think joy is. Joy is not, singing, dancing, and being happy all the time. Joy is about presence. It's about being able to go through life's ups and downs, realizing we are not it. So we really heighten our experience of everything we go through as a human being. So awareness arises out of a field of consciousness. If we have a lower level of consciousness, we are simply not that aware. We have less available to us. If we have a higher level of consciousness, we have more available to us. An example of this would be that I live on the 17th floor. If I lived on the first floor, what my view is very different from what my view is when I'm on the 17th floor. It's just expansive. There's limitless possibilities. There's more seeing, more knowing. So it's a good analogy for the levels of consciousness that we can exist at. So why do I continue to harp on consciousness? Why does it matter? Who cares? Why do we want? What is this consciousness? Why do we want more consciousness? So let me shed some light on how consciousness affects our day-to-day life and living. So let's start with food. Without consciousness, food is just calories, nutritional intake, and the number on the scale. And so if we look at this, the weight loss is $1 billion industry. Look around and look at yourself. How many of us are still stuck in the food weight loss war battle that we just can't seem to overcome? So without consciousness, we are focused on everything external when it comes to nutrition, eating, and food. When we bring a level of consciousness, then food becomes fuel. Food becomes medicine. Food has intelligence. We begin to understand why we tend towards certain eating habits, why we tend towards certain foods. What are the foods that we are craving? So when we add the level of consciousness, food becomes a sacred act of nourishing oneself, and we connect with where food is coming from. How do we prepare it? Even when we prepare it, are we preparing it with malice in our heart, with anger, or are we preparing it with the joy? Are we preparing it with presence? That increases the vibration of the food that we ingest, that increases our nourishment from it. So without consciousness, we can continue to attack, or we can continue to tackle our food struggles from the external world, from the external references. But when we become conscious, we look at it through, why is it that, where are my habits? Where are my cravings coming from? We have just more seeing, more available to us. So imagine if we ate consciously. Imagine if we naturally gravitated from the inside foods that are healthy for us, and we knew when to stop. So food was not this big draw that it has, because we are looking at it from the external. When we go into the inner world, that's the world of consciousness, our whole relationship with food changes. So now let's look at what do we do with how does consciousness affect our lifestyle? When we look at so simply to think, I have a good lifestyle or bad lifestyle. So lifestyle can include any practices, our social practices, our daily routines, our engagements. Who do we engage with? What do we do during our day? What books we read, or what company we keep? So, and we may understand, circadian rhythm. I got to get up at a certain time. I got to go to sleep at a certain time, and that's all good. But what I have noticed, what happens, we have all this beautiful information. When we use the information without really understanding who we are, we then disconnect with the information that we are using. We only use it for so long, and then we go back to the same old. So wouldn't it be nice if our lifestyle habits are internally driven rather than externally imposed? Right now, we take all the information from the external world and we try to incorporate it in our lives. And it only works for a certain amount of time, because the level of consciousness is not there. I don't care if you're doing affirmations, if you're doing, image boards, or whatever, strong will, or whatever it is that you might be trying to use to better your life. But until you raise the level of your consciousness, it will continue to be an uphill battle. So with consciousness, we realize our nature. Not only that, we are part of nature, we realize that we are nature. We begin to connect with that source that created us. So then there's a whole new, deeper understanding when we know it from the inside, then to begin to use the healthy habits, healthy lifestyle, it makes a lot more sense. So much in the external world, we are trying to navigate with a very little piece of information. So now there's all kinds of recreational drugs and substances that that people are engaging in. So they think, oh, I just do it socially, I just do it recreationally. So you have to understand, if the recreational activity is done on a daily basis, it is no longer recreational. It's called an addiction. So pay attention to notice how subtly, how without noticing, we slip into the habits that are detrimental to our well-being and to our health. Now let's look at the big area of our life, relationships. Without consciousness, relationships should be enriching, should be rewarding. I have to meet that perfect partner. That perfect partner has to just fit me so well. And because we feel inadequate in taking care of our own needs, we're waiting for the partner to do it for us. And so if we look around, 50% of the population is single, or 50% of the marriages fall apart because we continue to look at the partner to solve all of our problems. We are projecting. Instead of, when we have consciousness, we begin to understand that the partner is a mirror to everything that we cannot see within ourselves. So any relationship can be an opportunity for growth, for evolution, for shared goals and vision. Instead of we're thinking what the other person can do for me, when we have level of consciousness, because we are so full on the inside, we're thinking, how can I serve? How can I bring the best in someone? How can I offer my best to this person? We have compassion, we have deeper understanding. We're willing to communicate because we know what it is that we are communicating. We know what's going on with ourselves. We know ourselves. When we know ourselves, then we can communicate that with the other person. So it's a level of consciousness. Like I said, it's a vibration, it's a frequency. When you hold a certain level of consciousness, the universe matches it, and you then come in contact with people who carry the same level of consciousness. So if you're continuing to draw negativity, controlling behavior, and all kinds of conflict in relationships, it is trying to tell you that that is coming from inside of you. When I did not have the level of my consciousness, when I was not conscious, I ended up marrying somebody who was a narcissist, controlling. 7 years of that. It took me 7 years to wake up and get out. So I know what I'm talking about. So look at your relationship. It's not just a loving relationship. What about a relationship with your parents, your siblings, your children, your neighbors, your friends? Are you always coming in contradiction or in conflict with other people who you are in relationship with? Is the question is, what did that person do for me? Or is the question, what can I do for that person? Is the question, they have to fix something, they have to make me feel better, instead of you taking radical responsibility for your own experiences. That comes from the level of consciousness. Now let's talk about this new world that we are so hyped up about, so excited about. We keep hearing this 5D, 5D, 5D. What is 5D? So the fifth dimensional being, that's who we are. It's one thing if we didn't know about it. The fifth dimension, who we are, has always been here. It's nothing new. The new world has always been here. It's just that we have not paid attention. It's just that after the pandemic, we are beginning to wake up, and now, we are all ears. We're listening for that. But the 5D, that world, is not somewhere outside of us. It is inside of us. When we live below the heart, in fear, in emotional, commotional melodramas, in self worthlessness, then we are living in the third dimensional being. We have not harnessed, we have not cultivated, or we have not been in touch with what our potential is. The fifth dimension, living a fifth dimensional life, is nothing but living above the heart, which is the intelligence, the wisdom, the greater knowing, the greater seeing, and our connection with the higher realms. So it was always our choice. It still is our choice. So are we going to choose that? So it is the level of consciousness. If we are in a lower vibratory consciousness, then we are living below the heart. Everything that is fear, emotional reactions, competition, self-worthlessness, living in the ego-driven world, or we can choose to come into the heart, into the love. Love is consciousness in action. And we can move into the emotional intelligence rather than emotional reaction. We can tune into our own ability to intuit, instead of just working with the five senses, we can realize that actually we have the sixth sense, the sense of knowing, the intuitive sense is what really guides our life. We can connect with the higher realms, the angelic realms, everything else that is around us, the higher energy. So, you know, consciousness, to grow the level of our consciousness, is an inner world. It's an inside job. You have to go within. You have to get to know yourself. When I talk about healing, I'm talking about raising the level of consciousness, because healing literally is from moving below the heart to above the heart. Healing is the gap between the head and the heart. Actually, the mind and the heart, it's the shortest yet the longest distance. So how do we become more conscious? Sit down. Close your eyes. Sit down for 20 minutes. Close your eyes so the outer world you cannot see. When you create the darkness, you can begin to see the inner world. It's not a pill you can take. Go inside and let whatever is inside come to your awareness. When that happens, you are releasing the lifelong held stresses in your nervous system. Our nervous system is the seat of consciousness. By simply sitting, meditating, sound-based meditation, if you have another method, the meditation, do the practice and then tell me how you feel. Do the practice, do it for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and tell me how you feel. You're just not going to be drawn towards all the health demoting habits. Your areas of interest change. So you live a life that is more internally driven rather than externally imposed. So this is why I continue to talk about consciousness. If you're interested, if you want to dive deep into the world of consciousness, into every area of our life, then I invite you to take a look at my 6-month mentorship program, which we begin in February. The details are in the description box. And so take a look. We begin in February. There's an application process. Apply for it. And for that reason, I have also created 6 workshops in January, 1-hour workshops that are going to touch about every area of our life where people struggle with, so I can get you started. That's another way for you to begin. So obviously, if you're good with all this information, you don't need this, then this video is not for you. But I know how many people are struggling with these issues. So take a look at the workshops that are happening in January. And I also have a kind of a very light program. It's called a Membership, Mind, Body, Soul Membership Program. That's for your ongoing support. We have a community, so you can get the support that you need bite size at a time, so you can begin to implement this ancient wisdom into your daily life. So how is consciousness and Ayurveda connected? It's all in the same thing. Ayurveda is a study of consciousness. The Ayurveda wisdom was cognized by enlightened beings. They knew how life operates, how life works, because they tuned into their own experiences. That's science. Now we call it science because we take human experiences and we go in a lab and we prove it. If that's what if that's what that interests you, that's fine. But it's not something that is relevant, because science is derived from the human experiences. Our experiences are not dependent upon the scientific proof. We experience what we experience. Can we not trust what we experience, or do we need somebody to prove it for us first, and then we can own up to our own experiences? So it's a little backward, but you know, it became a science because somebody then created these scientific proofs saying this actually works. Well, yeah, duh. Thank you. Of course it works. That's how this information is cognized through their experiences. So it is wisdom. It is much bigger. It is much deeper. It is much more profound than science. So Ayurveda and consciousness is one and the same thing. It is a whole system of health and longevity and disease prevention. It is not fragmented information. It is not, let's do a little bit on nutrition. Let's do a little bit of meditation. It's an integrated system. We are integrated human beings. One thing affects the other thing. We are energy and body at the same time. Our energy gets sick before our body does. We cannot continue to look at the physical symptoms and physical disease and thinking it came from the body and continue to do all the testing and all the medications to keep hovering on the surface. We never look deeper. Body is not just body. There's energy, there's intelligence to it. That intelligence is pure consciousness. We come from that. So it will serve us to pay attention to that. It will serve us to connect with that. So consciousness, so cultivating the highest levels of consciousness is your connection with your source of being. When we are connected with that source, life will change. And this is why consciousness matters. Without consciousness, our personal problems, the problems that we see in our society, any societal issues that we can take, is because what's missing is the level of consciousness, because we continue to stay in our head, in the ego-based world. And so we are where we are. But we don't need to be. But it's a personal choice. You have to choose, right? When we live a consciousness-based life, when we live a conscious life, we do not live by default, we choose, because we wake up. This life is about waking up. Waking up to what? What the heck are we waking up to? We're waking up to who we are. We're waking up that we're beyond the thoughts and the mind. As you know, as many distractions as there are in the outer world, you know what the need is? That it's really showing us the need to go inward. There are now more screens than you know what to do with. Maybe it's trying to provide a contrast. Seeing something more is not going to better the quality of our life. So it's showing you that you really got to go in. Watch that screen. Watch the screen of your mind. Watch the inner movie that's continuously playing on. So life is an inner journey. Go inside, create a foundation, connect with who you are so you can live from the inside out. So if you're interested in this type of work, this type of teachings, learning, you want to implement it in your life, take a look at my mentorship program. 6-month mentorship program is one of a kind. It's 50% discounted for the first year, limited spots, because I am giving each participant a lot of personal time, because I want to make sure they really transform and make the shifts they need. So description box has all the link, and I will see you there. And thank you. You know, I'm not able to see the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and I will come back at some point and I will answer all of your questions. But thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy your Sunday, and I will check in with you soon. Thank you so much. Take care.